trip, and I just would worry about your health and safety. So please keep your eyes open.
It's like an automatic put on a good song. She did it right now. She's doing it. Look, Courtney, you just missed it. You were looking down.
I'm looking at I'm trying not to look directly at the monitor over here. I see it.
She can't dance with her eyes. So I can. By the way,
it's just if a great song comes on, you got to
catching a vibe, Evan.
That's exactly right. You catch the vibe. You let it just permeate through you, and then you go on. You would know this, Evan, if you actually danced. You claim to be a situationally good dancer. Yeah, we've never seen it.
Yeah, I think that's cap. I feel like I need to see some proof of this.
What are you, 12?
Yeah, Evan, please.
Dancing with my eyes wide open. Evan,
it's all yours.
You guys know that the NBA playoffs are on ESPN Radio? You can catch the postseason action on ESPN Radio and the ESPN app, presented by Augusto. You know what's been cool about this week, in all seriousness, the post-draft week? We've gotten a lot of explanations for things that have happened from high-level executives within organizations. And the most interesting part of it for me, as a sports fan media member, has been observing the observations. Like, I'm sitting there and I'm like, I get it, Les Snead, Rich Eisen yesterday. Go back on the podcast and listen. I get your explanation for everything that happened with the Rams. And you get Smalls and Courtney saying, I don't believe anything anyone's saying, right? Yeah. About any part of this, here's what happened with Ty Simpson, etc. Well, yesterday, we got an explanation on the Aaron Rodgers situation. So Adam Schefter reported that the Pittsburgh Steelers, post-draft, used this seldom-used unrestricted free agent tender thing on Rodgers, which none of us have ever really been familiar with. And it's like, okay, so that's just a way to make sure that I think they kind of make him a restricted free agent. It's kind of what happens. You have a right to match, and there's a salary he could take upon arrival, 10% greater than he had a year ago, so on and so forth. Well, that's the opposite of what they said they were going to do to start this offseason, because they said, oh, it's not going to be like last year. We're going to wrap this up quickly. Well, it's exactly like last year. And Art Rooney II, the Steelers owner, was on the Insiders on the NFL Network with Tom Pelissero, and he went back and forth on where things stand with Aaron Rodgers.
Yeah, well, we've been in contact with Aaron on a regular basis. You know, he's been keeping us up to date on his plans. And, even though I thought it probably would have been concluded by now, I think we will come to a conclusion here in the next few weeks.
Art, when you yesterday used the UFA tender to make sure that Aaron Rodgers, if he were to sign someplace else, you would get draft pick compensation. I haven't gotten the sense that that's something that is going to happen. But can you just, since it's been misinterpreted in a lot of different ways, just take us through the logic of using a tender that's not used very often?
Right. Well, the main thing that the tender gives us is potential for a comp pick. If Aaron would choose to go to another team. We don't expect that, but by the same token, you never know, and it's just something that we had an opportunity to protect if needed. The deadline was Monday, so if we were going to do it, we had to pull the trigger on Monday. We alerted Aaron and his representative that we were going to do it, and so not a real big deal, but just something that if in the unlikely event that he goes somewhere else. We are eligible for a comp pick in that situation.
In the unlikely event he goes somewhere else. Is that the headline off of Art Rooney on NFL Network? Or is there something else that you guys see here?
I had 1A and 1B.
Okay.
The unlikely event, meaning that the Steelers firmly believe he's going to be back.
But that it's on the table.
But to say the unlikely event tells you that their plans are for Aaron Rodgers to be their quarterback this season. And number 2 was, we'll know in a couple weeks. We're still going to wait a couple weeks for this? A couple weeks. Why are they waiting? If it is such an unlikely event, why are they waiting for him? Why is he dragging this out again? It feels like deja vu. And I don't know why the Steelers, a very proud organization that is turning the page into this new era of football, is willing to comply with this again.
I think it's twofold. I believe everything that Art Rooney said about the protection part. Like, notice he said that word a couple of times because it's to ensure that they get compensation if he goes somewhere else, or in the thing that he didn't say, the event that he retires. If he decides, hey, I'm actually good, I don't really want to play football in 26, they would get a compensatory pick next year for his decision to not play, because they're stuck then. They're stuck either way if he goes somewhere else or if he retires with the quarterback room that they have. I think what wasn't said in that, but what also is very much apparent here is that they're embarrassed. They're embarrassed by themselves because they let it get to this place once again. They believe that Rodgers was a changed man in the way that they were going to approach this offseason with him. Look, we said, hey, we want a decision before the draft. We believe that Aaron Rodgers wants to do things differently. They played themselves. And now they're having to shake the branches of the tree a little bit to get him to come down. And I know that that's a weird thing to do because we don't often see the UFA tender placed on anybody, let alone a quarterback, let alone getting it to April 30th. And this is the thing where it's like, is he coming? Is he not? You got to, because there's been so much inaction, because he said, I have nothing to sign in front of me. There's no contract. This is their way of being like, hey, Aaron, we heard you. We're going to go about it in a way that protects us, that might also perturb you and piss you off, frankly, in the process. But we need to get a move on here because we said things were going to be different this time around. They're clearly not. We don't want to sign up for this again, going through this offseason process. We're trying to get this done sooner than minicamp. But as Michelle said, a couple of weeks? You're basically saying we want to do things differently, but we're okay playing it out the exact same way that it went out last year. Because you give this guy a couple weeks, he's taking it up to the 11th hour, just like he did in 25.
So one thing that jumped out at me, and I know Nuno has something here we're going to get to in a second. When Small said the Steelers turned the page, I don't think they did. There are 4 coaches that I always associate with each other based on resume. Take names out. I mean, I'm going to give you the names, but if you just look at the resume, they look similar, right? Mike Tomlin, John Harbaugh, Sean Payton, Mike McCarthy. They went from one of those guys to the other guy. I don't think they turned the page. They hired the same guy just on the offensive side. Stable, veteran, leader, always wins. That's how I look at it.
With one big caveat.
Yeah.
One big difference. This new guy, while having some similarities to the old guy and Mike Tomlin, can get the best out of a quarterback. Historically, you bring in a Mike McCarthy to get a franchise quarterback and extract the best out of him.
Good one.
And yet we're going down this same road with Aaron Rodgers.
Well, the guy he got the most out of.
He's in his 40s.
No, I know. And that's why there's when Courtney's saying they're embarrassed, to me, there's some level of justification of I'm Mike McCarthy. I'll do this with Will Howard. We'll do this.
Then why aren't we doing that?
I don't know.
Then
why isn't that the plan?
I don't know. Nuno.
Well, actually, led me into my question. Do we believe that if they knew Aaron Rodgers wasn't coming back, at the end of the season, he's like, I'm retiring, that Mike McCarthy would actually be their guy?
We can answer that question coming up next. We're on Sportsmanlike, presented by Progressive Insurance.
Hey, this is Rich Eisen. Coming up on Thursday's show, Commanders head coach Dan Quinn joins us. So does the general manager of the Colts, Chris Ballard, and Chris Webber pulls up